Yo, yo, yo. Hey, guys, welcome back to another awesome edition of the Best Practice Show podcast. I've got a very unique episode here. So my team set this one up, and I trust them completely. And I'm like, who is this Dr. Ryan Hungate? And they're like, dude, just do it. You're going to like it. It's going to bend your brain. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is way outside of the box for me. He has created a brand new thinking, and he actually came from the Apple headquarters at Cupertino, California. And my favorite part is his story and what he's created. So I haven't vetted his technology, and I don't, I always have to put a disclaimer in here. I'm not telling you guys to scale multiple practices and all that kind of stuff. That's not my point. My hope and expectation of this podcast is I just want to bring you new things that are kind of exciting, kind of cool, might improve your practice and might improve your life. So listen to it in a way that it'll improve your practice and improve your life, and I know you will. So hope you enjoy it. We'll see you guys soon. Hey guys, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Best Practices Show podcast. Now I'm biased because I love this stuff and I get a chance to meet not only some of my heroes and introduce them to you and ask some great questions, but I also get a chance to talk to up and comers that are sometimes in the dental world, technology world, sometimes they're combined. And I have Dr. Ryan Hungate on today, who probably has one of the most unique stories I've ever heard, ever. And you guys are going to hear that, and where he ended up in dentistry and why. And a lot of what we're going to be talking about is automating your way out of some of this, the staffing crisis, or helping your team be a little bit more human, which I love. So Ryan, thanks for being on, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on here. Excited to talk about stuff.
Yeah. Now, in full transparency, if you guys are listening on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, it doesn't matter. I just met Ryan, and my team is always on the lookout for new, unique, valuable things. And I'm like, okay, what does this one know about? And they're like, don't worry, it's really cool. Like, he's got a great story. So, and then I asked you, I'm like, that is your story is as unique as, probably the most unique story I've heard on this side of things. So can you go through that again? Like, who are you, and tell us your story?
Yeah. So thank you. That's a huge compliment. You've obviously had quite a few people on here. I've got a somewhat of a weird background. I'm an orthodontist, first of all. That's not the weird part. That's actually the why that I'm here. But at the same time, prior to becoming an orthodontist, I worked at a little company called Apple. And I was there during a pretty cool time. I was there from 2007 to 2008. So for all the Apple historians out there, the iPhone came out while I was there, and we had no clue, right? They do not tell you when cool stuff comes out. So walk into the Apple store as much as you want, beg and plead with them to tell you the cool new stuff. They do not know. And all the way up to the SVP of retail, which is who I reported to. So I was out in Cupertino, and I reported directly to the SVP of retail, who's Ron Johnson, really cool guy. He was previously the CEO of Target prior to coming to Apple, so crazy transition for him. He's the reason that you like going to Target and not Walmart. No offense to Walmart, great place. Just don't really picture myself there, on Black Friday or anything like that. It's one of those things where you go into Target, it's like nice, open, wide experience, bright lights, more expensive, but you're happier because you're not running into people. He brought that into the retail world of Apple, and that's why you don't have collared shirt people anymore. Nothing wrong with that in that practice, but what you're seeing now is like chill, relaxed, friendly, calm. And you also see people in Apple stores that look like you. So you've got old, young, right? Mohawk, right? Colorful hair, piercings. You see everything. A lot of people like to talk to people who look like themselves, right? And other people like to talk about the opposite, right? Sometimes young people want to talk to old people want to talk to young people. So Apple had that process before I got there, but what they did not have was a triage process. So I was pre-med, pre-dent, good old-fashioned Ball State University in Indiana. And when I got there, I realized that we had a really big problem. right? The number one complaint at Apple stores at the time was that I couldn't find anybody to help me. And that didn't make a lot of sense to me because we had 40 people on average working in every single store, front of house. So in the front of house, you think about that as your front office in your practice, right? Back of house is the people that you don't get to talk to, right? That's the hygiene, assisting, and dentist. In this world, it's like the Genius Bar. That's back of house, right? For your Apple store. So I was responsible for the entire workflow of the front. So I said, hey, why don't we start to triage people? And they're like, that's crazy. And I'm like, well, give me a few stores to try this out with. We started to triage people when they came in, strategically route them to somebody who knew they were talking to so they could find somebody instantaneously when they walked in, right? That was a huge piece. And immediately you're happy. It's kind of like when somebody answers the phone, right? Think about Southwest, right? When you call Southwest for a flight, you hit 1 or 2 and you talk to a human. Same with American Express. You love it, right? When I go through some stupid giant tree, I'm pissed every single time. Same thing in the store. Find somebody who can help me and I'm good to go. So then we figured out that at the time we also had cash registers. Okay. I know this is a thing of the past in the Apple store because it was because I got rid of it, right? We would find out that we would talk to somebody for 20 minutes, sell them an iPhone, a Mac, and then we would drop them off at the cash register and be like, good luck, right? And half the time they would get there and go, oh my God, I'm holding a $600 computer in my hand. I didn't tell anybody I'm supposed to about buying this. I made a bad choice. They'll set it down and they'd leave, right? And it's funny. I'm making a lot of these analogies because what do we do every single day in our practices? We get done talking with patients for an hour, right? And then what we do is we stand them up with their bibs still on them. We walk them to the front desk, right? And we parade them around saying, please go pay for this stuff. And what do? They second guess themselves, right? And we're surprised that we have a poor patient acceptance rate on our treatment plans, right? It's the same concept. So what we did at the Apple store is we started to turn everybody into a checkout station, right? We started to say, hey, here's this little pocket PC, all right? And it's funny, we always used Windows CE because we didn't have the App Store back in the day, right? And we would always blame when they'd screw up. We'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, it's Windows, and it was always a funny joke. We mounted receipt printers underneath desks. And then we also figured out that if we handed you your bag of goodies too early, you would stick around too long, right? And you start to play with other stuff. So we started to walk you to the front of the store and then give it to you, and out the store you went.
Wow.
Right? So it was literally kicking you out without you knowing. And I got to deploy that in about 300 stores worldwide at the time, including some Best Buys and Targets who use it as well. And it was a lot of fun. I reported directly to him to a guy named Tim Cook, and Tim to Steve when he was still alive. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And I would imagine by, taking away the registers, the sales went up, people were happier and efficiency. And I'm constantly baffled by the number of people that still order at the register at Starbucks. I walk right into the store. The line is going out the door. I walk right by them. I grab my coffee and walk right out. And I'm like, you guys, there's an app. And they're like, what? And so, and it's funny you say Target, like when these things came into, the marketplace, I was like, and now they just built a new Target by us and they have check out yourself at every exit. So it's not just at the main exit, it's now at every exit. So you walk in, grab your thing and you just walk right out. And actually, as you're saying this, I was at the Lucas, where was I? I was at somewhere. No, I went to watch the basketball in Indianapolis, and I was at that. And so they had stores, like nobody was working them. You just walked in and you swiped your card to get in and you grabbed whatever you want. And I'm like, that's it. And they're just like, no, we got you. It's crazy, the efficiency. And so it's wild. And so I'm sure you've learned a lot on the automation side of things. Now, I got to ask you, okay, that's a pretty cool crowd to hang around with, and then what was like, I want to be a dentist. Like, how did that come to be?
Well, it was always the plan, right? So when I was in school, it was always like pre-med, pre-dent. My dad's a golf pro. So I remember being out there on the course, and the MDs would always run out there in their scrubs last second, hit their tee shot, and then go get changed. And then I'd see the dentists on Wednesdays, smoking a cigar, chilling, because they had the whole day off and half days on Fridays. I'm like, I'm going to be a dentist. Like, this is my job I want one day. And it was kind of like this derailing thing when I went to Apple, honestly. I didn't see myself going there. It's just the opportunity presented itself and it skyrocketed to the top because Apple had a really cool concept at the time that's like, hey, if you have a good idea, you can ride this to the top, which sounds like baloney, honestly. And it does in most orgs. They do it, right? Where you have a good idea, next thing you know, you're reporting to the guy at the top. And that's what happened with me. It was about the time, like around 2008, where a lot of my friends were getting into the dental school, med school, vet school that I was all in, Ball State with. And I remember they just knew me as the tech nerd because I worked at Apple. They have no clue what I did, that I had nothing to do with the programming side of things, but they were showing me their tech that they just bought. And it's a traditional electronic health records that you've seen out there that you all get to use, the Dentrix, EagleSoft, Open Dentals of the world. And I remember looking at that and going, oh my God, you got to update this. And they're like, I just bought it.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, oh Christ, like this is the best. This is the biggest. This is the one. And, Apple had just dropped the iPhone interface, which it was the first time in the world where we kind of got away from, Photoshop, where one button did one button did one thing.
Right.
And there was like 5 ways to do that one thing. It was a nightmare. Whereas, Apple hit one button and did 20 things on the other side because there's automation, right? I want to make your life easier. So I was spoiled, honestly, by that, right? I was spoiled by the automation. And I looked at these processes and I thought, you know what? I bet you I could make a software that will change all this. I'm going to make the electronic health record that everybody wants to switch to because that's really easy. I had no clue what I was talking about, right? Wow. I had no idea how difficult it is to switch out electronic health records and that it won't happen. I could literally walk up to you tomorrow and say, hey, look, I've got the best electronic health record on earth. It's free and I'll give you $50,000 to switch. And you'd be like, get the hell out of my office right now, right? Because I'm going to have 2 front desk people quit, right? I might not even see a latex allergy. I might miss that latex allergy, right? And kill a patient. Right. All these different things happen where you don't want to switch. And if it ain't broke, it ain't, don't fix it. Right. So if that's the case, we started looking at that when I got into dental school. So went to dental school, decided to do that, got there, realized it wasn't so much about how somebody built a bad interface, right? It was just built in the 90s and then it never changed. It was that when it was built, it had clinical dentistry and clinical healthcare in mind, right? All these, and dentistry is not unique, right? Vets look the same, right? All these EHRs were built the same. Like, it doesn't matter if you're in aesthetics, vets, optometry, hospital system. They're all bad, right? And they were all built in the late 90s, early 2000s, right? The kicker is they're not going to change. And even worse, they were built with only clinical in mind. So it lacks a lot of the business side. It was all built afterwards. You can tell, like, take Dentrix, for example. You can tell that they were like, they made a charting system and then they go, oh crap, we need scheduling. Bolted on. Oh crap, we need billing. Bolted on, right? You can see that there's all those different little modules in there, and they're not unique. Everybody's like that. So if that's the case, then how do we teach all these doctors business? And I mean, I'm the same as all of you guys. Like, I went through 11 years of school for ortho, and the only business class I got was an econ class my sophomore year at Ball State. That's not enough. Right? We all can accidentally graduate dental school and go run $1 million businesses. And we are in the only world where we can be okay at it, having no business experience, right, and still have 2 vacation homes and BMWs, right? That's really cool. Just because we charge a lot of money and we have decent margins, like 30% margins. But the question we need to ask each other is, 1, how long does that last? And then 2, can we do better? One of the big things that you were talking about earlier with staffing, it's a problem now, right? For the first time ever, we have front desk people who have been there for 20 years going, I might get a different job. Or even worse, you hire a Gen Z who is definitely going to have a different job 3 months later, right? That's just how they're switching jobs like constantly. And if that's the case, we can no longer say like, oh, well, Bobby at the front desk is the only one that knows how to schedule for me, or all these simple things that can be automated. And on top of that, like we were saying, they don't want to do that anyway. So we said, like, what if we could look at these things and work on more automation and the whys behind it, which is what I want to talk about with you.
Yeah, I love the whys. Now, Because you're speaking my jam, like everybody loves automation and systems. And you probably have a lot of data around what systems do because everybody knows this. Every time you create a system, you're saving thousands of hours in the future. You're making it more efficient. And I love what you said in the pre-show. Like, listen, it's not all about money. It's about helping your team members be more human, which that's a fresh perspective. And everybody would want that. So what do we not know about automation as dentists? Like why is this such a hidden, secret here?
Yeah, well, first we have to acknowledge that our front desk team doesn't wake up, stretch in the morning and go, man, I can't wait to go schedule 30 patients.
Right.
Oh, man, I can't wait to go reconcile 80 transactions in electronic health record. That's not what they're excited about. And I'm guessing, interestingly enough, is that doctors aren't excited about actually drilling the tooth. We love talking with patients. Your front desk team loves talking with patients. It's a new conversation every time. How are your kids doing? How's life going? Oh my God, you're hurting. Let me help you, right? Let me be empathetic. That's the fun part of our job, taking somebody from a frown and turning it upside down. That's cool, right? That's why we come into work every single day and it changes. And we also get instantaneous gratification from that process. It's the in-between stuff that's boring, right? We don't want to do that stuff anyway. So what if we could take those in-between things, the scheduling of patients, right? The reconciling of payments, the verification of benefits, right? Whatever it might be, and automate it, right? So, a lot of people will look at that and go, well, with automation, aren't you removing jobs? No, hell no, right? We're allowing people to be more human. We're turning them bionic, right? That's the best part. We're going to allow you to do the stuff that you want to do and love, right? And take away the stuff that you didn't want to do anyway. It's kind of like, did you really want to do basic arithmetic on paper? No. You want to use a calculator, right? That's what you want to do. I'll save you that time and give it back to you and make you happier in the end of those things. So that's what we want to concentrate on. And the other piece is that we also have to realize, that, our front desk team, right, is pretty overworked right now, right? We kind of pile on them, right? And what does that mean? Well, meaning that, like, if you just take, for example, phones, for example, this is for a majority of doctors out there, like there's a number, 12% of dentists have direct scheduling. That's it, just 12%.
Wow.
Okay. So if you want an easy leg up on your competition, go allow direct scheduling. But on top of that, because phone calls are so interruptive, your front desk also misses 30% of the phone calls. That's the best front desks, by the way, right? So if you're thinking in your mind, I don't know if mine's the best, that's a problem too, right? So, at the end of the day, we have to realize that. And the last thing I ask these doctors to think about, or these practice owners to think about, is think about the way that you want to schedule an appointment with your doctor, right? How do you want, like when you go see a dermatologist, are you excited to call them up and find an appointment?
No, I communicate with them through my app.
Exactly, right?
Test results, everything, appointments, correspondence. It's easier.
Yep, absolutely. Now imagine that doctor tomorrow said, you know what? I'm going to get rid of all this. And now the only way that you can communicate with me again is by a phone. What would you think?
Wah-wah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think this is upsetting, but you might even think even something worse. I'm going to find another doctor because now you've had a taste, right? You've had a taste of this. And even better yet, even if a patient hasn't had a taste of like how good that can be, they have somewhere else with Uber, with Amazon, right? With any online retail store or experience in their life, Postmates, who's going to bring you food at the, tip of your fingers, wherever you want to, DoorDash, whatever it might be. All these things are happening, right? Another thing I ask people, like if you're looking at two restaurants and one of them has open table and the other one doesn't, which one are you going to?
I'm going to the one in an open table every single time. And you're now I'm older than you. And so the Amazon thing was like, okay, wait a minute. I'm going to press a button and this is going to keep me from going to the store. I'll be the judge of that. Bam. Bam. Now it's bam, 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 bam. We as consumers want things when we want them, how we want them, not right now. It's crazy. Okay. Yeah. So you're kind of blowing my mind because I'm one of the older guys now in the room and that happened really fast. But take us through that. Where are we at in this point in time?
Yeah. So what's nice is that traditionally people have been averse to some of this technology, right? Why? Because okay, I'm going to open up my schedule to have somebody else, some technology schedule appointments for me. That's nerve-wracking because guess what? They used to not be able to do it as well as Bobby at the front desk. Bobby's better. Well, I'm happy to say that there's now technology that can do it. In fact, maybe better than Bobby. Because, think about this. When a patient calls back in and wants to schedule their follow-up appointment, right? When you're trying to find that follow-up appointment, you have to look in the chart and say, okay, Ryan here needs a 45-minute appointment for their implant. Okay, great. Let me look through this chart. To find a 45-minute slot, you have to go through day by day by day and look for 45-minute slots with your eye. That takes, think about it. When you call into the doctor, is it a 5-minute process? No, it's 20. It's awful, right? And this is not, oh, my practice is shorter. No, it's not, right? It's definitely not. It's a long process. And while that's happening, patients are walking out, payments are not being taken. A lot of these pieces are happening. Now we've got technology that can do it as good, right? Your electronic, health record should integrate with this stuff. You should be able to show it on your website, right? Another thing that I tell people is, one, make sure you talk to your marketing company and get good statistics on your website. Right. If they're not passing that to you, this is a quick aside. If they're not passing that data to you on a consistent basis, go find a new one because it's easy for them to do. All right. Now, let's say that the average doctor out there is getting 500 to 600 unique patients visiting their website a month, right? That's a good average. If that happens, right, you should ask yourself, am I getting 500 to 600 new patients for my website a month, right? And everybody will say, well, no, of course I'm not. Right. And the problem with that statement is the of course I'm not part. Let's rephrase it for a second. Imagine that 500 people walked into your front office, right, in your waiting room, looked at you in the face, looked at your staff in the face, looked at your office and says, nah, and walked out. Mm-hmm. You would be pissed, right? You would be really upset. You would say, what's wrong? Did somebody poop on the carpet? Like, what's going on here? Right. There's a problem. But yet we're okay with somebody leaving our website without scheduling. Nobody came to your dental website by accident, right? Nobody was searching for ESPN and you were a result too, right? They were looking for a dentist. They came to your website with one intention, only one, right? And they decided not to book for some odd reason. Maybe they didn't get the information they wanted. Maybe they didn't trust you. Maybe they weren't ready to make a buying decision, whatever it might be, but they made that decision, right? So we have to have something on there that allows them for a call to action. And it cannot be a phone number in the top right where you answer that from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but not Wednesdays and not the weekend, right? That's a real problem. And when was the last time you were just ready to pick up the phone because that's a fun process, right? It's a lot. It's ridiculous. I hate calling people.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. Now, so as you're putting all this together, I have so many questions, you hear this back and forth, and I'm not here to slam any software, but, these companies don't play well. They go API, but they don't really know what API is. And now you're coming in here and you're trying to combine all these technologies, and there's a lot of moving pieces to it. Tell me the story of what you put together. What were you thinking when you did this?
Yeah. You're right. They don't want to play nice. And it's really interesting, too. So just to speak to them for a second, they would be so smart to open up those ecosystems to the world, right? Open Dental is probably the closest one out there that just says, here I am, I suck, make me better, right? And make me sticky. That's the whole thing. Because if you get upset enough, let's say I make a bunch of really cool, innovative technology over here, and you come over to me and you go, Ryan, I got to have that technology. I go, cool, I don't integrate. After a while, you're going to get mad enough, and it takes a lot of madness, right? Because it's not fun to change. You might get mad enough to switch. Yeah. Right? You might. Right? Or even worse, you might devalue your practice enough to switch, meaning that if I cannot have the technology that becomes a standard of care because these electronic health records are not allowing me to change, even though I want to, now my practice is worth less money. Right now, when I want to go to exit and sell this bad boy one day, I don't have the cool systems that I need that make me attractive to a private equity group or even to an individual purchaser that I need to get my multiple. And now my retirement is screwed, right? So these are the kind of things that people are going to start to think about. These electronic health records need to make a choice. Now, here's the fun part. with brand new technologies out there today, like RPA technology, which is a fancy word for screen scraping or bot. But at the same time, with things like that, things like the Cures Act, which allows you as a doctor, you are the owner of your data, right? You can do whatever you want with it. So you don't own Dentrix per se. You don't own EagleSoft. You don't own Open Dental. And they have specific rights for you to use those softwares. But what you do own is the patient information within there. That is your data. So what the Cures Act says is that, hey, I can allow anybody out there, right, with the proper obvious BAAs and HIPAA compliance and all that other good stuff and encryption to access this. You can give me your password, username, or you can create one for me, and you can say, hey, this is my data. You can read it, you can write to it, you can do whatever you want, right? That's another cool. That's two cool things happened during COVID. One's Cures Act, two is the QR codes, right? They came back. But at the end of the day, that changed things so that now awesome, innovative companies can help you as a practitioner, right? So what we did is we started building out technology that said, I don't care about these APIs. And honestly, like you said, they don't even know what APIs are. And the ones that they built are slow. It's not socket technology. It's not, for all the real nerds out there, it's not a RESTful API. That means I can't beat it up. And also, if they didn't build it correctly, that means that if I'm utilizing their APIs, and even though I'm doing it in the right way, I'm going to light your physical server on fire because they're not used to real-time activity.
Right.
So what we did is we had to build a tool that layers on top. Right? We wanted to layer on top so that you change nothing, right? Those are the types of technologies that you want. Anything that you apply in your practice, right? Any type of technology purchase that you make, you should ask one really big question. Does anybody in my practice have to change anything? Okay? And if the answer is yes, you have a really good chance at failing, right? Meaning that right now, we have to ask ourselves, a front desk team member, if I give them something extra to do, like we see it all the time with live chat that they have to man, right? The front desk has to man the live chat. Wrong, right? Oh, I'm sure they got nothing else to do, right? Are you going to pay them more to do that, right? Are you going to add another person up front? Hell no. It's just you plop it on them. That's why we have to look at things like automation or having another 24/7 live chat team do it on their behalf, which is like what we do with Simplifeye. But this is the kind of stuff where you have to acknowledge that and say, am I going to pay the front desk team member more to do this? If the answer is no, then I probably shouldn't give it to them. So we look at the integration side of things and we try to say, let's be a common denominator, okay? Meaning that I want to integrate with everybody. Right? The Dentrix, EagleSoft, Open Dental, Dentrix Enterprise, Ortho software, whatever it might be. Even on the vet and optometry side, which is really cool. Because imagine you go from a dental clinic over to your optometrist and your charts actually transfer. Wow. That's cool. Right? So that's what we've built. But at the same time, this is a really big deal, not just for a single location, because on a single location, you're excited because you go, okay, now my front desk doesn't have to do as much work. Right. That's great because now they don't have to schedule everything. They don't have to talk with patients because of live chat. They don't have to reconcile payments because it reads and writes back to the ledger. All those things are fantastic. But the other piece is now imagine that you have 2 locations or 3, and maybe you're going to buy a 10th location. As you roll up these other locations, a huge part of their aggregation process is actually a thing called integration. And not in the sense that we're talking about. It's actually how I buy a practice and integrate them into my ecosystem.
Right.
Okay. Which is really powerful because normally I got to buy them and say, hey, now you're going to use my electronic health record. Now you're going to use my banking system and my swiping of credit cards. And you lose people. Right. And then today you can't afford to lose human beings. You just can't because you're not going to get them back. So what we did is we said, I don't care what you have. Right. Use this. And you can now start to even integrate more people at a common denominator and say, don't change anything.
Yeah. No, I'm loving this. And I'm just going to tell everybody what I said at the beginning. Cause you and I met I'm like, okay, listen, I know what you do is kind of cool, but like the worst podcast that I have on here, somebody's trying to say, you're like doing the opposite. Like I honestly don't know what the hell you do. Like, I don't know what it is that you do and what your product is and what you created. So I can certainly appreciate what you're doing. Even here right now. So like, what is it? Like, what do you, and I haven't looked at it. I'll be quite honest. I'm just trusting my team. They're like, no, just listen to them. It's pretty cool. And I certainly haven't vetted it, so don't listen to me as like, oh, like what did you create? What is it?
Yeah. So like I was saying, we actually automate the entire front desk part that they don't want to do. So we came at it from a couple of different angles. The first one is 24/7 live chat, right? We can implement a 24/7 live chat. This is something that you've experienced on Amazon, you've experienced with your bank, except we don't use a bot. We use a real human being here in the US, all either current or ex front desk human beings. They chat live 24/7 and answer within 7 seconds. We even speak 8 different languages. It's really cool, right? With the only goal to book patients in your system. And because of those integrations with those electronic health records, we can write directly back instantaneously, and your front desk had to do nothing.
Wow.
Right? On top of that, we can also, with that deep integration, give them direct scheduling, right? So think open table for dental. Is the easiest way to describe it, right? We integrate with your electronic health record. We show them times that are available. You get to choose how it's booked, so we can cross-reference open chairs with, providers and what those providers can actually do. And we can, side book people if that's a thing that you're looking for, right? Where you double book them. All those things, making things easy and booking like your front desk team can, again, taking that stuff away. And we've already had the conversation here. This is what people want, right? The other piece that we came at was on what we call invite. And this is really cool. So what we do is we look at the planned treatment that you have. So you plan treatment that you haven't completed. We can then categorize it by the procedure type. We can categorize it by the amount of money it's going to make you. And we can automatically send text and emails out to those patients to have them schedule themselves back for that treatment.
Wow.
It's a golden goose. It's basically like you saying, you have a gold mine. I just brought you mining equipment for the first time.
Yeah. Now you're not, so it's not a practice management software system in itself.
No,
it's just something that integrates on the top. Now you had mentioned the phone calls. Where do the phone calls come in play? Do you have a VoIP system? Yeah. And again, I'm not the guy that understands all this. So can I ask?
Yeah. It's the only piece we don't touch, right? Because honestly, your front desk does pretty well at the phones side of things. And there's some great people out there like Mango, like Weave. They do some cool stuff. And they should stick to that kind of stuff. But at the same time, that's what we always recommend for phones. We've just found that now about 60% of your patients are going to want to actually schedule themselves and not talk to you in the first place. Right. On top of that, we even make something more special where your direct booking link, we don't make them come to your website for it. You can take your direct booking link and now put it on your Yelp results, your Google My Business results, your Delta Dental results, right? Instagram ads. Let them book right from there. Don't make them leave, right? Imagine a Nike ad that says, buy my shoe, but you got to call me from 9 to 5. Right. That's your Instagram ad you're running right now. Say book now, right there at the bottom. And then the other cool thing that we've done is we actually built a fintech platform too. Right. So this is the rare side. So what we did is think of like Square, like when you talked about walking in the coffee shop. Remember you walked in, you have that app on your phone, you just tapped it, you were done, right? Right. Imagine that you have that now for your office. That's what we built, right? You walk in, the patient's registered through direct scheduling and all that other good stuff. And now when it comes to payment processing, one of the things that your front desk really does not like, right, is the fact that they have to swipe a credit card. Right. And then what they have to do is go over to the electronic health record and type in that transaction again. Right. That is a pain and also fraught with error. Have you ever typed anything wrong into a calculator?
Oh, for sure. Right? All the time. Yeah.
All the time. Right. So we make it so that's instantaneous and automated.
Right.
Now, which is really cool.
You're going to love this, right? So I have 4 kids and I didn't know that they got onto my phone and enabled the Apple Pay on their phone from my card. And so I'm like, wow, there's a lot of money going on. Like I sit down, I'm like, Apple Pay. I'm like, well, I didn't buy that. And then I started, I'm the late one in our family. So like I go into one store and the lady's like, do you have Apple Pay? She goes like, yeah, just hold up your phone. And I held it up and it went ding. And my kids are like, yeah, we've been doing that for months. Like you just go ding, ding.
Oh yeah, Apple Pay, man.
It's frightening and I kind of love it. And then I had to disable my
yeah.
kids off of my pay. But you're really kind of saying the same thing. Now I'm jumping to conclusions, but if I were just to give you my basic understanding of what I've just learned in like 30 minutes is that you're taking my doctor app that I communicate with my dermatologist and my general doctor and all my other doctors I communicate with, and you're adding the live chat, the direct scheduling, the invite. And if I even went to the website, like you're going to communicate, and my payment system. So if I'm in there, I'm just going to go ding, Apple Pay or whatever it is. I mean, am I on the right track here?
You hit the nail on the head. And every single thing that you just talked about is something that your front desk has to do right now.
Right.
They have to do that manually. Now imagine that they don't. And now they're just talking with patients and being welcoming and increasing relationships and making them happier. Right? That's the goal that we've come forward with, where we say, let's let these front desk team members enjoy what they're doing every single day and focus on the stuff that they're really good at. We'll take care of the nitty gritty in between stuff that they don't want to do anyway.
Yeah. What about, so this one comes up, appointment reminders, all that kind of stuff. So that's automatically.
We do.
You guys do all
it's
that.
Built right in. Yeah. We build all that stuff in. We even do like some review generation stuff and listing stuff. Like there's the Me Too kind of stuff, along with there. But the stuff we do that's really innovative, is really on the payment side of things. Nobody really creates that ecosystem where it is easy to tap, right? It is easy for a wireless terminal. Remember how I talked about how we walk people to the front desk all the time? Now we give you a wireless piece of hardware. Do chairside checkout, right? Nobody's ever even tried it out. You will get a higher rate of yeses just by doing chairside checkout because they're more comfortable with talking with that person, right? And then at the same time, we even talk about integrating third-party financing into the process of checking out. So now you'll see when you check out, credit card, debit card, or choose your financer, right? Let them have that option. And they're going to get more yeses to it. And don't make your front desk team talk about it because they don't want to talk about that stuff anyway, or watch people get denied.
Yeah.
Right. That's the other thing about that.
Yeah.
And let that reconcile too.
Okay. So you're blowing my mind already. And again, I haven't had and I'm going to ask you a question that I wasn't going to tell you. What's in the future? Because I could tell, like, you're a good thinker. Like, tell me what's on the future, not only from the technological side, or maybe even the future in your future, what you're thinking right now.
You're going to see a lot of magic happen in the coming months and years, right? And what I mean by that is, we talked about two distinct portions of a product, right? We talked about engagement and we talk about fintech. What people are starting to ask is, how do I get those two woven together? Right. Take for example, Starbucks, which you commented on.
Right.
Starbucks is the 6th largest bank in the world because of their Starbucks app.
Wow.
Right. I guarantee you got like $17 on Starbucks, your app right now, just sitting there ready for you to go. Right. They're making money off of that. Now, what's interesting is, what if we start to weave those things together? Let's take patient forms, for example. Right? What kind of data are we collecting with patient forms? We think name, phone number, address, social, all that stuff. One, that should be automated. It should read and write back. It should be an easier thing. And you've experienced that at other practices. But what can I do with that data? That's the question.
Right.
What if I could pre-qualify people before they come in? Right? What if I could make it so they know that they afford treatment? What if I could tell you as a doctor exactly what they're pre-qualified for? Would that change the game for you?
Wow. That's crazy. And is it true that Apple's the largest credit card holder in the world? Like they have the largest.
They are now.
They are?
Yeah, they're actually building out their own rails. So now they basically said, we're so big that now what we're going to do is they're going to partner with Goldman Sachs, and they're going to start to say, maybe we are Visa, maybe we're MasterCard, maybe we are American Express. And now you'll have just a Apple card because they can build their own technology rails. And as they push more through there, like more than likely you'll be like, do you have an Apple card in the future? Right. Yeah. You already say like, you have an Apple credit card, but it runs through MasterCard right now.
So this little technology company transformed computers. Oh, by the way, it transformed the record industry. And now it's going to transform the credit card industry, the finance industry. That's crazy.
It's amazing. It's amazing what you can do when you listen to your customers, right? Wow. I think that Amazon is the best example of this. If you tell me that Jeff Bezos went into the game saying, "Oh, I started selling books to one day build rockets, or I started selling books to build a cloud to contain the entire internet with AWS." There's no way, right? He did not do that. He went in to sell books, but his fundamental thought process is, I'm going to listen to my customers. I'm going to give them the best service possible so they stick with me, and they're going to tell me exactly what to build, and I'm going to hire genius engineers and go build it. Right? That's how you get stuff done, and that's what Apple's doing, and that's honestly, our thought process. Our first application was to tell doctors where to go and why to be there on your Apple Watch. That was the first one we did.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. Do you know I've heard this, but I don't know if it's true. I heard Bezos always has an empty chair at meetings to point out that that's the customer. Do you know what I mean? Because we get in our heads, and I don't know if you've heard that, but I've heard that several times. I've never validated that, but I think that's a pretty cool mindset, and it completely supports what you said. Is like we've got to include the customer in this conversation, type of a thing. Yeah. And that's what you guys are doing too, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, he takes the customer's right to a whole nother level. Right. I mean, you've had it. Would you say that Amazon's customer experience is the best one you've ever had?
Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly getting, this product would be good for you, and I'm like, you're probably right. Like I was. Yeah. Or they know, they were also too. Something. They've revolutionized the shopping cart, like where I was looking at something and they're like, hey, you left something behind. And I'm like, I did. I was kind of busy. Let me buy it right now. Yeah. And also too, they took the entire Nordstrom. They took the risk, reversal thing to a whole nother level, which Nordstrom had done for years, which made us, we didn't understand the implications on it psychologically, that we like buying from people where we have no risk, so I could take anything back to Nordstrom or Costco. Do you know that you can assemble an entire piece of furniture at Costco, stain it and still return it, and they'll take it back? And Amazon, same thing. Amazon's got this no questions asked thing, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Half the time it's keep it, right? They say, oh, just keep it. Have you ever had that where they're like, I want to return this? They're like, we're good. Yeah. And it's crazy. That's a whole nother level. Now, it cost them an arm and a leg, and they had to get to a critical volume for that. But what they're saying is that I would rather make this person happy. Right. For the $30 I would have made, or the $10 I would have made, they're going to go buy thousands of items in the future. And I'm good with that. You have to have some venture capital backing and some, they're in a great spot. But at the same time, that's why you do that, right? Yeah. That's why you listen. Like I said, we started off with being an Apple Watch company, right? Literally telling people where to go and why to be there. Doctors, it failed miserably, but thank Christ, we listened to what they actually wanted and we built it, right? Basically, I listened and they said, we don't want change. We don't want any change. We don't want to feel any of this. We don't want any friction whatsoever. And I said, okay, no problem. How about automation, right? And since then, it's been all up ever since.
That's awesome. Well, Ryan, I've absolutely enjoyed this. I love the way you think. Any last thoughts on automation, or the future of really helping your team be more human? Any last thoughts?
Yeah, look, the biggest thing that I tell people is start to take a step in this direction, because it's going to be the people that take a step tomorrow that are fine in 5 years. Because I'm telling you right now, the wages are not going down. It's not like all of a sudden we're going to graduate a bunch of hygienists and assistants and now we're going to be able to pay them less again. The cat's out of the bag. We're stuck with the numbers that they are, right? Your margins went down recently, right? You need to make these adaptations now so that 5 years from now, you are the winner on your block. You're the winner, as a DSO. It doesn't matter the size of your practice, right? That's what you want to do. But take one step. You don't have to do everything we were talking about. You don't have to do it all at once. Start with live chat, right? See what happens. See if you can answer your patient's questions when they want them to be answered, and watch what happens, right? Yeah. Automatically reconcile payments, right? That's what they want to see. Pick one thing and go with that, but don't get frozen up by decision, envy. You don't want to sit there and go, I have 10 different things I need to do. Oh my God, I'll never start. Right. One thing, one step. That's how everybody freezes up on the first step. Take the first step and you'll be good to go. I love it. Now, I haven't even asked you about your product. Tell us, I got a lot of listeners, what is it? Where do I find it? How do I get started? Where do I go? Yeah, you can go to simplifeye.com. So Simplifeye, spelled Simplifeye, Eye.com. We try to make it as difficult as possible to spell it. So yeah, you can go to Simplifeye.com, check out everything about us. And you can, like I said, it's not an all-in-one system. It's one of those things, just pick the piece of it that you want to go with. Doesn't matter if it's payment processing, where we can actually go as low as 0% merchant fees. Yep, 0% merchant fees, which is really cool with cash discounting. Or start with direct scheduling, because it's the easiest way to beat your competition, right? Just go there. 12% of your colleagues have this. And you said it earlier, right? You said, hey, if I have Open Table on one restaurant and not on the other one, you go to Open Table. Right. It's the same decision that these patients are making. They don't know that you're a good doctor or a bad doctor. They think all doctors are created equal. We can change that, right? With a simple piece, and we do it by location. It's really easy to get up and going. By the way, onboarding takes 48 hours or less. And then on top of that, I can train everybody on the call. Do you know how to open an email? Congrats, you're trained, right? Like literally, we try to incorporate this into the current workflows that you have in your practice every day. Your front desk will not notice that we're even there, right? They'll just be happy that they're doing less of the stuff they didn't want to do anyway.
Wow. Cool stuff, man. Well, thank you for being on. Like, I really like the way you think, and I love your story. I'm a big fan of stories,
Thanks so much.
People's stories. Yeah. So I'm going to have you back and talk about another component of technology here as we get going. So stick around while we say goodbye to everybody else. But thank you guys for listening to the Best Practices Show. Hey, if you enjoyed today, which I know you did, just do us a favor, hit the share button, and make sure you check out Ryan's company. Let me know what you think. Like, it's brand new to me, but I love where he's headed, and hope your lives get easier. And remember, if you can help your team be more human, they'll appreciate you too. So hope you guys have a good day, and we'll see you next time on the Best Practices Show.